What's up, Lost Boys? This is our Week 5 fantasy football preview. But before we get into the Week 5 matchups, we're going to do a quick little recap of Week 4. Now, before I go into all the matchups from Week 4, I think we have to start with the Tim versus Cal matchup, specifically Tim. Um, Go back last week at this time, my video comes out, and I specifically mentioned a couple things. First one was how Tim might have hit the jackpot that DeAndre Swift got hurt, and Jamal Williams is going to be playing for him for a couple weeks. So that'll be great fantasy points for him. The other thing I mentioned in my video multiple times was how the Saints are playing in the London game and how that game is usually low scoring and yada yada yada, and multiple times London game, London game, London game in the morning. So both of those things got mentioned in the video. Jamal Williams, London game. Fast forward 5 days, 4 days, 4.5, 5 days later, after I posted that video, Sunday morning happens. Tim sends a text message out around 10 a.m. Sunday morning, stating that he woke up early to check his team and didn't realize there was a London game. Well, okay, I guess that Tim didn't watch the video. It's fine, not a big deal. So he missed out on the Jameis Winston thing. But the more frustrating part, and I don't mean to make this sound too serious, but it's still fantasy and it still has implications, was the fact that he left DeAndre Swift in. Tim, did you really not check your team? Because you said you checked it and you were bummed out that Jameis Winston game already started, but you left DeAndre Swift in, who was ruled out 3 days before that. You could have had Jamal Williams in. That's not even bringing up how on Thursday you inexplicably took out Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was the number 6 fantasy running back on the year, and decided to take him out and put in Tyler Boyd for some reason. But whatever, that's a fantasy decision. Maybe you went with your gut. Okay, people make bad fantasy decisions all the time. But the DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams thing, and on top of the Jameis Winston thing, it was just brutal, man. And you beat Cal, which was the most crazy thing about the whole thing. You beat Cal. You would have beat Cal if you just put in your lineup like a normal person on Saturday or even Friday, knowing that this stuff was going to happen. This wasn't like the Kamara situation where he was 100% supposed to play Saturday night when he went to bed, and they ruled him out 45 minutes before game time, which would have been 5 in the morning for some people in Denver or in Colorado where we were. But this was not like that. We knew Jameis wasn't going to play. We knew DeAndre Swift wasn't going to play. And still, and you won, so, I mean, technically the results are the same. But let's just we gotta make sure to Tim, you gotta be better, because last week kind of made it seem like you just didn't give a shit. So I know you're the bye week. I know we give you shit all the time, but you've always been really good about at least setting your lineup. So that was kind of a crazy thing, because us watching that in Colorado together was crazy. Cal's like, oh, well. And then on the plane even, I was like, well, damn, Tim has Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And Cal's like, nope, he didn't start him. He put Tyler Boyd in. Oh, man, this keeps getting worse. And then for you to pull out that victory on Monday Night Football was ridiculous. That San Fran pick six, I just can't imagine being Cal and losing to you in that fashion. That'd be brutal. So, sorry, Cal. Tim, check your lineups Saturday nights. We'll be ready to rock. You play me this week, so I'm sure your lineup's going to be perfect and it's going to be a lot of points. So, but yeah, the rest of the matchups last week, they were actually pretty crazy. We'll start with the matchup of the week, brothers versus brothers Grimm. It was exactly that, a bad beat. Jace decided to go off. He scored the second most points of the year last week against me. TJ Hawkinson, all right. Anytime you get 35 points from your tight end and it being TJ fucking Hawkinson, I'm pretty sure you're going to win. So that was nice. I scored the second most points in the week and lost, so that's frustrating. But points are king in our league, as we always say. So I'm not too angry about that. The Justin and Denny game was a close one. It's one of our few close ones we've had this year. Justin got a decent game from Matt Gay. He was pretty much the only Rams player to do anything last night, and he pulled the victory out by 3.5 points. So Justin got that one. He got kind of fortunate yesterday. Denny's guys kind of had a couple drop touchdowns. But yeah, that was brutal. Not to mention Jerry Jeudy had a long touchdown. So Justin pulls the victory out from Denny. We already talked about Cal and Tim. Ryan demolished Learning Computer. We have Ryan in second place right now in the league. I mentioned at the beginning of the year, Ryan's ceiling is insane, and you're seeing that because not only is he's in second place, he has the second most points in the league, but I think he has the second most or third most points against. So his games are always high scoring, and with Christian McCaffrey and with Saquon both staying healthy, his team's doing really, really solid. And then you had the the other shit show of the week, Cass versus Pat. Pat scored, I think, Pat scored 94 points, and I think I tallied him up real quickly in my head. He had 85 points on his bench. 85 points on his bench. So if there was a wrong call to make last week, unfortunately, Patty, you made it. Is brutal. Your team is just looking a little rough right now. Mitchell Trubisky hurt. Looks like he's going to be losing the starting spot. Jonathan Taylor hurt. We'll see how long he's out. Traylon Burks hurt. We'll see how long he's out. Claypool sucks. I mean, it's rough, Patty. You are in a rough spot. It's going to take some solid fantasy managing. And Cass, he's in first place right now. So I don't want it to sound like knock. He's crushing it. But he lost Javonte Williams for the year. Tua is in brain exploding protocol. So we'll see what the situation is for him. We'll see what his status is for his team going forward. He's still in first place. He's racked up the wins. He's 3-1. He's doing a really good job. I think he has the least or the second most points against in the league, which is really, really good. But Cass is in first, and Cass is a really good fantasy player, so I'm sure he's going to manage the fantasy injuries going forward pretty well. So that's kind of a quick recap. Our league is completely wide open. We have 2 3-1 teams. We have 2 1-3 teams, and then we have all 2-2 teams. So 6 2-2 teams, all separated just by points. So it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be like this most of the year, with the ebb and flows of the NFL. Week 5. Week 5. This is an interesting week because there's a lot of interesting matchups, but you can't go with anything but the matchup of the week being your first place team versus your second place team. It's Cass. It's Ryan. Ryan obviously staying healthy. He's got his boys playing. McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. They have some tough matchups, unfortunately. McCaffrey's going against San Francisco, has one of the best defenses, and Saquon's going against Green Bay, who has one of the best defenses. So that's going to hurt him. Goff's going against New England, a really good defense. Burrow's going against Baltimore. Baltimore hasn't looked that good. We'll see how that goes. Ryan's team, like I said, they're just overall a solid team. He doesn't have someone that just blows up every week, but you got 1 week it'll be Debo with 15 to 20, McCaffrey with 15 to 20, Saquon with 15 to 20, Garrett Wilson. Goff's been a huge bonus to him. Who would have thought that? He waited in the draft for a quarterback, and he took Goff. Goff, I think, is the number 4 fantasy quarterback right now, which is insane. And their defense is so bad, so Goff's going to continue to throw. So great pickup by Ryan there. We'll see if Burrow can get his groove back Thursday night against Baltimore. Sometimes those Thursday night games are a little shit showy. Going over to Cass, first place team. Starting with quarterbacks, Kyler is garbage time man. Terrible. I said it last week. He did the exact same thing this week. Terrible for 3 quarters, gets you 20 points, and the fourth quarter ends up with like 25 fantasy points, which you can't complain about. On the flip side, Cass, I mentioned how he had his running back Javonte Williams out for the year. Well, Tua is also gone as well. He's starting Jacoby Brissett. That's a little risky. So Jacoby Brissett's going to be in there. We'll see what he's doing. He's going against the Chargers. Chargers D is talented, but not really performing. But once again, Cass's wide receivers are strength. Cooper Kupp, AJ Green. Brandon Cooks finally showed something this week. He's starting Tyler Lockett and Elijah Moore in his flex spots. I've mentioned Cass's flex spots all year long. It hasn't mattered because he's 3-1 and he's in first place. But I mean, you're starting Tyler Lockett, Elijah Moore, Brees Hall. Brees Hall's coming around. He's looking really, really good. That could be a league winner in week 8 and on this year. So this is a really, really close one. They are the first place and the second place team, but I hate the matchups on both sides. Ryan's guys are going against really good defenses. Cass is really injured. I honestly don't know where to go in this one, so I'm going to lean pedigree with Cass. He's in first place. He's pulled it out every single week, and he has the X factor in Travis Kelce, who is the best tight end. He's going against Vegas, which he kills Vegas every year. I think quarterbacks, wide receivers, everything's going to be kind of close on the matchups, and I think Kelce's point differential over Pat Freiermuth is just going to be too much for Ryan to overcome. So we're going Cass on that one. Next one, we're going to go with Cal versus Learning Computer. Now, Cal had a devastating loss last week. Let's call it how it is. I mean, that was just absolutely insane. I'm watching it unfold in my eyes. I turned that game on with like 7 minutes left. I'm like, Cal's got this. He just needs a little bit of yards from this. And then St. Fran goes down, throws the touchdown from Kittle. It's like, he got it. Okay, Cal won. He didn't get crushed. And foot out of bounds. I couldn't believe it. The next drive, they kick a field goal. The next drive, Rams through the pick six. It's like, this is over. There's no way you can make up these points. And it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. So, Cal, I feel for you from last week. But your team is still somewhat decent. I know you're 2-2. You don't have a lot of points, but you still have the best fantasy football player of the year in Lamar Jackson. Davante Adams, I'm super high on him. Mike Williams with Keenan Allen getting hurt again. He's the number 1 wide receiver in Los Angeles for the Chargers. You just really need Mixon to get going, man. I mean, your running backs, Mixon, Elliott, Akers, that is bad. Like, that is really, really, really bad, especially with Mixon taking dumps. I mean, you're starting Akers and MVS in your flex spots. That's not going to win you many games. Cooper took a huge shit last week, cost you the game. I mean, you had some bad dumps last week. That's how you lost to a guy that started 2 0 slots, including a quarterback. So it happens. Your matchups are a little better this week. I think Lamar is going to have a monster night on Thursday, and we'll see if the Chiefs can shut down Davante Adams. I don't know. That Thursday night game's huge for you. You have Lamar and Joe Mixon. You need that game to be high scoring. So we'll see how that goes on the flip side for Learning Computer. I've been down on his team all year. He's 2-2, so he's tied with most of the people in the league. But Stafford has been a huge letdown this year. He just doesn't have it for some reason. You can tell last night even. He just wasn't that good. Once again, this week he's going against Dallas defense, which is surprisingly very good. Kirk had a couple great games. Hasn't really shown up the last 2 weeks. Waddle without Tua, who knows? I mean, Tua was feeding Waddle because they had the connection in college. Hopefully Waddle continues to be good, but I don't know how good he's going to be with Teddy Two Gloves in there. Bateman's questionable, horse turd hair, meh. Khalil Herbert, good pickup, but at the end of the day, like, it's still Bears. And the Bears offense is just atrocious. Like, it is so bad. So we'll see if Herbert can do something for him. Josh Reynolds, in the flex, he might switch him out for someone else. I would assume he probably would. We'll see. And Jeff Wilson, decent pickup. San Fran runs a lot. So looking at this game, I mean, usually you get the Lamar versus Josh Allen, which is one of those guys gives the other team the edge. Well, since they're facing each other, they're going to cancel each other out. And usually the second quarterback will do something there, but you have Matt Ryan versus Stafford kind of mediocre, cancel each other out. After looking at this game and looking at the matchups and whatnot, I'm going to, go Cal, just because I think his wide receivers are a little better. Davante Adams, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper. But this one might be a slow one. I mean, this may be a good beat. This may be the winner of this game scores the third least points in the week versus the least points in the week. So we'll see, but I'm going to go Cal on that one. Next one we're going to go is Josh versus Tim. We mentioned the bye week before. I'm assuming he's going to have all of his guys put in. Swift will be out. Jamal Williams will be in. We'll see if Winston can play. If not, I'm sure he can put someone in there. But starting with Tim's team, Tannehill, not the best. He has, if Winston can't play, then he's going to put Fields in, but Fields sucks. But Tannehill is going against Washington, whose defense is terrible. We'll see about Deontay Johnson. Mike Evans is going to have a monster game against Atlanta. He always has a monster game against Atlanta. That was a big reason Tim beat Cal was because Evans had 26 points. Dalvin Cook, been a bust this year. It sucks. I love Dalvin Cook as a player, but he just hasn't produced. I'm sure he's going to get right this week. He'll probably have 100 yards and a couple touchdowns, especially against Chicago. DK, he had to get wheeled back to take a diarrhea in the middle of the game, but other than that, he looked really, really good going against New Orleans. DK versus Marshawn Lattimore is always a fun one. He could destroy him and win the matchup, or he could get ejected in the first 5 minutes. So we'll see about that one. And Tyler Boyd, I'm sure, won't be in. I'm sure it'll be CEH for Tim. With the Chiefs going against the Raiders, Raiders don't have the best run defense, so CEH is looking for a really, really good game for Tim. So Tim's team, I mean, they have high upside. The guy scored over 100 points, and he had 50 or 60 points on his bench. So Tim's team can score points. That's not the question. On the flip side, the Josh's team, Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, especially Jalen Hurts has been pretty solid. Cousins has been a huge letdown this year, a couple touchdowns here or there. So we'll see if he can get right against Chicago. I mentioned Chicago's pretty bad. It's in Minnesota, so they won't have to deal with the weather. Justin Jefferson, another big week last week. He's been up and down. We'll see if he can come back. Chicago's pretty bad. The only bad thing is I don't think the Vikings are going to have to throw a lot. I think they're going to get up early against the Bears, and that'll be it. So that's why I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a much, much better game than he's had all year. DJ Moore against the Niners may get negative points because Carolina is so bad and Baker Mayfield's so bad. Curtis Samuel, Tennessee. I mean, Josh's strength is not his wide receivers, which is it's his running backs. I mean, he has Kamara, Nick Chubb, and J.K. Dobbins with Dameon Pierce sitting on his bench. Depends on who he starts, but right now, if Kamara plays against Seattle, his running backs could carry him. Chris Olave has been a monster so far in the rookie year. This is going to be a much closer game. I'm going to lean Josh just because the quarterback situation. I mean, Jameis Winston, Justin Fields, and Ryan Tannehill, two of those three are going to be starting, and I think maybe Jalen Hurts can outscore both of them by himself, especially going against Arizona's god-awful defense. So that's mainly the only reason I'm going against him. I think running backs wise, because I think Jamal Williams and Dalvin Cook are going to have such big games, it'll equal out Josh's running backs, but I think the quarterback situation is going to give Josh the slight edge over Tim. We're going to go with our next matchup is going to be Denny versus Pat. Both of these guys need victories. Denny's got to be pretty annoyed. He lost by 3 points last week to Justin. He had some kind of bad luck. And then obviously we talked how bad Pat's team is. He's going to do his best. He's going to play his guys. It's looking like, somewhat good news this morning. Taylor may have been out for three or 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. They said it's negative. He might even play this week. Problem is it's a Thursday night football game. I would assume that they keep him out just to be safe, but I don't think they can afford to keep him out because Colts are about to be done for this year. Still don't know how they beat the fucking Chiefs. See if Michael Thomas comes back to play Seattle. Their defense is terrible. Miles Sanders has been a huge bright spot for Pat. Unfortunately, the weeks that he goes off, Pat has had him on the bench. So I'm sure he's going to be playing him this week. Patty needs Brady to get back in the groove. Who knows what he's going to do with this second thing. Pat's team's rough, to be honest with you. Flip over to Denny's. Denny has Rodgers and Wentz. Rodgers is a bottom 10 quarterback right now, unfortunately, and Wentz is fucking terrible. Tyreek has no Tua. Drake London is going against Tampa Bay's top-ranked defense. Gabe Davis seems to drop a lot of balls for some reason. But he does have Eckler. He does have Aaron Jones. He does have Etienne. Now, Etienne's been terrible this year, but those other two guys, along with Darren Waller, they give him the advantage. Excuse me. So we'll see. I mean, this game's going to be much closer than I think, but I think Denny edges it out, and I think the way he does it is on the defense. I think Green Bay is going to pick off or sack Daniel Jones multiple times, maybe even a pick six, and I think it's going to be a close game with Denny's D coming through for him. That's the London game, and we know how the London games are a shit show. Denny needs to wake up Sunday morning and have a monster thing because he also has Aaron Jones going in that game as well. So I think he's going to wake up happy. Green Bay takes the beat down on Giants and helps Denny beat Pat. So, and then I think that is actually no. I got one more game. It is Barreto versus Jace. Justin gets the dub last week with his field goal kicker. And Jace put the smackdown on Josh with all of his guys going off last week, mainly TJ Hawkinson getting him 35 points. So we'll start with Justin's team. Justin, unfortunately, he's going to have to start managing. He was pretty good last year until Derrick Henry came, and he still stayed strong this year. Now his running back injury is Cordell Patterson. And James Conner's been a little iffy, so with Patterson on the IR now, he's gone for at least 3 weeks. Matt Ryan is killing Pittman's value, so that pick looks so great after week 1, and he's been a turd going forward since then. Ja'Marr Chase, he said it in the text chain, biggest bust of the year. I mean, he's not the biggest bust of the year, but he has not produced the way I thought he was. Higgins is getting more targets and more yards than he is. I don't know if it's because defenses are homing in on, but Justin's got to be pissed about that. Judy's been pretty good when he doesn't get hurt, and Thielen's been okay. Zach Ertz has been a great pickup for him, but at the end of the day, Justin banked on Patrick Mahomes. They play the Raiders. Well, Justin also has Derek Carr, so you got Mahomes versus Raiders. That game could be super high scoring. It seems like the Chiefs especially let garbage points in if they get up early. So Justin could easily have 50 to 60 points from his quarterbacks. And another big thing is he also has Juju, and that's the Monday night game. So Justin could go into the Monday night game down 60 points and still have a chance. On the flip side to Jace, Herbert, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson finally had a coming out party last week. Got about 26 points, rushing touchdown. It was a really good game. Got Sutton a touchdown, which was great for Jace. Herbert didn't look very good again. That rib injury's got to be killing him. He's going against Cleveland's defense in Cleveland. It's probably going to be shitty weather. Myles Garrett's probably going to be back from his car accident thing, and we'll see how Herbert does. They might lean on Eckler more. They might have seen that they need to give Eckler more touches. Who knows? We'll see how Herbert does. But Jace's wideouts, Diggs, Sutton, and Higgins. I mean, that's maybe the best wideouts in the league. They're going to try to carry him again. Najee taking dumps. A.J. Dillon just isn't doing it right now. The Green Bay offense just in general isn't doing it. He did cash one of his backup lottery tickets with Javonte Williams being out. Melvin Gordon's going in. But the Broncos did just sign Latavius Murray today, so we'll see if they go back to this stupid fucking split backfield, which I don't know why NFL franchises think that's a good idea, but whatever. But yes, he has Melvin Gordon, and it's going to be great to have him as a starting running back for Jace. And then Marquise Brown's been really pretty damn good in that slot for him. So like I said, Jace's 4 wide receivers are the best in our league. But his running backs are a little rough. Looking at the matchups here, I think exactly what I said is going to happen. I think Jace is going to get up huge. Justin's going to be miserable watching Red Zone all day. He's not going to get a lot of touchdowns on Sunday. Jace is going to start the week out with a lot of points because I think Denver's playing Colts Thursday night. Colts are terrible. Once again, don't know how the Chiefs lost. Wilson, Sutton, they'll do their thing. I mean, Jace has all of his chips now on Denver. All of them. He has Wilson. He has Sutton. He has Melvin Gordon. Jace goes how Denver goes. Now, lucky for Jace, Denver's playing the Colts in Denver. So odds are Jace is going to start his week pretty well. So Jace is going to get up early. They're going to go into Monday Night Football, and Justin's going to need to, get 60 to 70 points. I think that's kind of how it's going to be. Looking close matchups, I'm going to lean Jace on this one just because I think with the Melvin Gordon starting, I think with Denver's matchup good. In other weeks when Denver's matchup's bad, it's going to be tough for Jace, but this is not one of those weeks. Colts D's not very good. I think it'll give Jace a good jump start to the week, and I think he's barely going to hang on. I think the game's going to be much closer, but I'm going to lean Jace. So those are my picks, boys. Like I said, incredibly close league. Tim and Denny, the 2-1 and 3 guys, they're one game out, of the playoffs right now because everyone's 2-2. We got some guys dealing with injuries. We got some big matchups this week, first place for second place. So it should be a really fun fantasy week. And we got Chiefs Monday Night Football against So let's hope we rock it out, guys. Everyone's team stay healthy. I will talk to you later.